Hi guys, so you know from the title of this video that I am questioning whether I've made a mistake. You probably know that I recently bought myself a new keyboard, a Casio CTK-5200, and I'd like to start out by saying first impressions aren't everything, and I did test it in the store. I tested it with its inbuilt speakers and through a Roland amplifier that they had there, but not my exact Roland amplifier. After using it for 3 busking spots, I am questioning whether I've made the right decision or not to spend money on a keyboard that's at the lower end of the price range of musical instruments, or whether I should have spent more money on a more expensive product. After using it the few times, I've run into a couple of issues. And first off, you would have seen in the video about the new keyboard, the connections I had to connect it to my motorcycle battery, none of them fit. So I wasn't able to connect it that way, and my other option was to use 6 AA batteries. I found after 3 hours of use on 6 AA batteries, it died. That was all I got from it, 3 hours. Now, rechargeable AAs are available, but to be able to charge all 6 at once, you either need to have multiple, like 2 battery chargers, or a large charger that will take 6 batteries. And that's sort of outlaying a bit more money than I wanted to, but I also don't want to be going through disposable batteries that quickly, because it's bad for the environment to be just going through disposable batteries all the time, and if it's that frequent. So I went into JCar, which is an Australian electronics store, and that's where I got all my connections for the motorcycle batteries. And I said, is there anything that I can use to connect this up? The connections I got in the pack, none of them will seem to fit and make it work. And it turns out that this keyboard runs off of 9.5 volts, and the connection that I have is a 12 volt connection. I didn't have any issues with it on my Yamaha keyboard, my MM6, because that needs 12 volt. And so I didn't even think about the fact that there could be a different input voltage, and that it wouldn't work because of that. So they have adapters to change the output from 12 volts, but only to 9 volt, which then is too low. So basically they then said the only way you're going to be able to do this, other than running off of the AAs, is to power it through an inverter. And I was like, well, I already have an inverter. I use that for my amplifier, and I use a larger motorcycle battery with that inverter. I don't want to buy another inverter, and I think if I use that inverter with a power board and plug both in, it will be too much of a toll on the battery. But I went away and I thought about it, and I thought there's no harm in trying. If it dies while I'm out busking, I've got the smaller battery that I can swap over to and have just a little bit more time before that also dies. So my third attempt performing with it, I ran it off of the motorcycle battery inverter power board setup, and that went okay. I didn't find that it just died when I was out busking. I probably got through about 2 hours or so without it dying. So maybe it will last a bit longer. Maybe the fact that the voltage is lower means there's less of a toll on that battery, because I have in the past run my MM6 and the amplifier off of the same battery through the inverter, and it hasn't lasted very long. So that was in my mind, but it worked. So that was my one little issue with it, making me feel a bit nervous about this keyboard. So that's sort of resolved. I can put that to one side now. But then the main issues are that I'm not liking the sound through my amplifier. I'm not picking it up so much when I listen back to the recordings through my my H4n Pro audio recorder for my videos. But when I'm out there, there's like this tinny quality that comes out whenever I press the keys hard enough. And it makes me want to back off from my sort of expressive nature of how I play the keyboard. And that doesn't make me feel very comfortable. And even with like backing off, it still happens and I still hear it. And it just sounds very unprofessional to me. So I'm not very happy with that. And that comes out on the first piano sound, like tone, grand piano or stereo grand piano or something. So then I tried the stereo mellow grand or piano or whatever it said. And that one, it's not very responsive when you're pressing the keys. It has a tendency that if you're not pressing them hard enough, it will just completely sort of drop out instead of there being the sound still. It just feels quite unresponsive. And I know there's 2 levels of touch sensitivity, but neither of them seem to make a difference with this sound. But that one doesn't get that tinny quality, so I was sort of going for that one. But it just doesn't pack the punch that these other sort of piano sounds have, and it's not getting like the clarity that I like. So then my third try was what they called classic piano, and this one sort of sat in between the two. It was a lot clearer. It was more like the stereo grand piano, where if I pressed too hard, it would get tinny. It's perhaps not as bad as the stereo grand piano, but it's still not ideal. And I've sort of run out of other sounds to choose from that are like the sounds I like. And I think one of my biggest mistakes was going into the store on a Thursday night, which is late night shopping here, after school had finished, when a lot of kids were having lessons and the store was just quite busy. So when I was listening to it, there were background sounds. I didn't want to be too loud and imposing because there was so much going on in the store. I really should have gone during the daytime when it was nice and quiet there with my amplifier and plugged everything in and just gave it a good listen. But I didn't do that. I worked with what I could there, and I thought I was making a good call. I was pretty impatient to finally get this problem sorted and be able to go out busking again. So that's where my mindset was at. I'm not saying that this keyboard isn't a good keyboard. It's just not proving to be what I like for busking. And I kind of like, I can't feel complete regret about getting it because I have been able to go busking easily, and I'm earning back the money that I've spent on it. And so maybe it's just sort of my stepping stone keyboard between now and having saved enough to buy the $800 Yamaha MX61 that I researched so much. And I did a bit of research on the CTK-5200, but nowhere near as much. And if I'm honest, I wasn't completely in love with the idea of getting that one. But since, you know, owning a house and everything, I have realized I have to be a bit more realistic and cut costs in some areas. And I guess in this area, I probably shouldn't have. I should have tried to do that in some other area and not the instrument that I use all the time for busking. Because it always used to be, if I could get away with using my MM6 over my digital piano because it was a lot lighter, I would go ahead and do that. And now it's like, if I can bring my digital piano for the nicer sounds and not have to use the Casio keyboard, then that's the way I'm going. And so the mindset has definitely had a shift there. Yeah, I don't know, it's disappointing. I really wanted to just embrace the keyboard and get past this, but the first night I was a bit iffy with it. The second time it was really getting me down, and the third time it's just sort of cemented that the sounds, it just doesn't sound as good through my amplifier, and it's not what I want. So I guess where I'm at is that I'll keep using the Casio for busking till I can afford to splash out and buy the MX61. I mean, life's like that sometimes. You make mistakes, and you can't always know everything about something, how something's gonna go, how something's gonna work in the real world. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it in as good condition as I can so that I can possibly just sell it on secondhand to someone who wants a keyboard to learn on, and you know, sort of cut my losses a bit. Anyway, sorry, it's not better news. I really did want to love this keyboard and have it be just such a great thing, and it's sort of gone a bit sour, which is a shame. But oh well, you know, you live and you learn. So thanks for watching me just complain about something else. And I'll have another busking video out soon. So I'll see you then.